Without this level of clarity, your plan is doomed to fail. Hey, my dear, I am leadership development coach Kathy Archer and author of best-selling book, Mastering Confidence. Today we are talking about the plan that you make and how it might fail if you don't add this level of clarity. Before we get there, I'm going to share this group into my Confident Women Leaders group. What I want to know while I'm sharing this is, have you got a copy of my Audible book? And if you've not got a copy of my Audible book, just yes or no. And if the answer is no, have you ever read an Audible book or listened to an Audible book? Sorry, let me share this into a group. Confident Women Leaders group is a group of women leaders who are all trying to manage this sort of balance between leadership and life and trying to do it in a network of women who also are caring and supportive. If you want to join the Confident Women Leaders group, the link is in the notes. Make sure you join that. So again, today we are talking about how your plan is going to be doomed to failure if you don't add this level of clarity. Before we get there, I want to let you know that today's session is brought to you by my Blueprint for Change. Blueprint for Change is the online course for discontent women leaders who long for a different experience of leadership and life. When you enroll in Blueprint for Change, what you find is the motivation and the plan to start taking those steps necessary to get you out of survival mode. In Blueprint for Change, you start to create your specific, because everybody's different, strategic plan that moves you from today's dismal reality that maybe you're not so happy with to tomorrow's promising desire. If you want to get on the wait list to be notified when that course opens up, which will be next month, go to silverrivercoaching.com and scroll down to the bottom. The 3 courses that I offer are at the bottom. Click the link and make sure you put your name on there to be notified when Blueprint for Change opens up. So again, today we are talking about, without this level of clarity, your plan is doomed to failure. So, plan? What plan? Well, if you've been following along for the last few weeks and months and forever since I've been doing these online sessions and writing blogs and stuff, you know that I am adamant that you need to design your life rather than waiting for everybody else to design it for you. Waiting to see what shows up, you need to create a plan. And so we've been talking about that plan being something that helps you move from surviving, this place where you're barely making it through your days, you're always ready to drop the ball, you are feeling like you can't sort of keep up with stuff, you're in a job where you used to like it, but now it just feels like the hamster wheel's going around and around. How do you get out of there? How do you move from there to maybe a tolerable workplace where, it's not quite the toxic environment that you don't want, but it's not any more than kind of ho-hum. It's nothing more than, I'm here, it just feels like same thing day after day. I put out fires, I chase to-do lists and policies and all of this kind of stuff, but I don't feel like I'm making a difference. Surviving, tolerating, to thriving, where you go to work every day, you're engaged, you enjoy your work, you feel like you're making a difference, you feel like you're using your best skills and you're allowed and able to be your best self, where you feel confident and capable, and you know that you might make a mistake, but that's okay, that you can get back up and move forward and still make that difference. That's that thriving place. How do you move along that continuum? With a plan. A plan, a plan, a plan. I've been nattering about this for weeks. Do you have a plan? If you got today's newsletter and opened it up, basically what I said was, we've just hit the end of the first quarter, January, February, March. We've hit year end for many organizations, and people are looking at, did we reach our goals? What do we have to do financially? Where are we headed next year? But have you done that personally? Have you sat down and looked at, what have I accomplished personally? Growing myself, developing myself, becoming the type of person I want, having the experience of leadership and life I want. Have you sat down and looked at January, February, March? What's different? What's changed? What have I accomplished? What's left to do? Have you done that? That's what a plan is. That plan is, I'm here and I am working 60, 70 hours a week. Where I want to be is working 40 or 50 hours a week. Great. That's a dream. Turn it into a goal. When do I want to be reaching that? Well, I want to be reaching that in 3 months. Now you need the plan. It's not going to change if you don't create that plan. How are you going to get to dropping down some of the hours? What are you going to do? So there are 3 things when we're talking about plans that we need to think about. First is, if you don't plan your life, somebody else will. And so somebody else is going to tell you, basically, maybe not in so many words, but you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here. Somebody's going to tell you what meetings to attend, how late you're going to stay at work, what work you're going to take home with you. I was talking to a client yesterday, and she said, nobody told me I have to take this work home. I just felt like it. True. Nobody told you, but when you don't create a plan about how you're going to handle that work that's coming home with you at the end of the day, how you're going to approach boundaries and set some timelines on your work schedule, the work is just going to sort of ooze into your day and dictate what happens for you. So if you don't plan your life, somebody else is. Your organization, whether that's one particular person or the energy of your organization or the culture of your organization, it's going to dictate the mood you're in. It's going to dictate your energy levels. It's going to dictate your time. It's going to dictate your relationships unless you decide how you want it to go, unless you start being intentional. So the first thing to remember is, if you don't plan your life, somebody else will. Remember that. If you don't plan your life, someone else will. So you have to create a plan. Second thing to remember is your plan needs to be documented. You need to write it down. Having a plan up here is not a plan. It's a dream or a wish. It is not a plan until you write it down. You attach some timelines to it. You get specific about strategies. That's a plan. And if you don't have that level of detail, you're going to be doomed to fail, right? You're going to hit a roadblock. Let's go back to the example of the number of hours that you're working. If you don't have a plan in place with some strategies about how I'm going to deal with the boss when he says to me, I need you to do this today. And by that request or demand or order, however it comes across to you, if you have the perspective, the frame of mind, the attitude, the belief that I have to get this done, this is life and death, I'm going to get fired if I don't, my boss will hate me, I'll look like an idiot, people will judge me, whatever your perception is, whatever your viewpoint is, if you have that, you're going to stay late. That's it. You are going to stay late and you're going to be working those long hours. Somebody else dictated your day for you. Something else came into your sphere of experience and it molded how the rest of your day was going to go because you didn't have a plan. You didn't know what you were going to do when you got triggered. When the world said to you, you're going to be a bad leader if you don't finish this project. When those inner thoughts said that to you, right? That's what happens for us. We get triggered by this layer of, it comes from all of our experiences in the past, from when we were kids to when we were in college to the last 6 jobs we've had. All of that stuff layers up and we don't even know it. And it creates that unconscious reaction inside of us that goes, okay, I better get it done. And you stay late. So if you want to change that, you have to create that written down plan that says, when I get triggered by a demand and I start to feel my body tighten up, the thoughts in my head say, I must do this, I have to do this, I'm going to slow down and take a deep breath. And I'm going to gain a little bit of perspective on this request. And maybe that means I'm going to get up from my desk and go to the washroom or go for a walk, or I'm going to take a deep breath, or I'm going to, if my boss is still standing at the door or the board chair or whoever demanded of me, maybe it's the HR person, who knows? And I'm going to say, I'll get back to you in a minute. Literally. I was listening to a video the other day, and they were talking about Barack Obama and how he had a decision to make. And, you know, it was a decision that really impacted his character. If he made this decision one way, people would really judge him. And if he made the decision another way, people would really judge him. So it was a decision that wasn't necessarily fact-based, but had to come from his heart. And what did he do? He went for a walk around the block and had a smoke. I mean, that's what Barack Obama did. I think he still smokes sometimes. I'm not so sure. But he separated himself from all of the people in the room, all of the judgments. He gained perspective, gained a little bit of clarity by going into a different environment and just sort of feeling into the decision. Do I, don't I? Should I, shouldn't I? If I do it this way, if I do it that way. And that's what your plan might include, is that ability to step back and go, when I'm triggered, when the urge hits, I'm going to do this. So that's what you're looking for, is that level of awareness when you get caught in much of what's unconscious. Your plan needs to help you. When I talk about the work that I do with people, I always say I give you the inner and outer tools to turn around things. It's that inner and outer stuff that's really, really important. So your plan's going to include things like, if I get asked to work extra hours, I'm going to set boundaries. Great. That's an outer kind of thing. We need to know how to set boundaries. The inner part is that triggered part, that thoughts and feeling like I'm a failure if I don't do this. They're judging me if I don't do this. I'm going to look inept if I don't do this. I'm going to look like I can't handle the job if I don't do this. That's the inner stuff that your plan has to include. If you want to change that around, if you want to have a different experience of leadership and life, your plan needs to include both the inner and outer stuff that's going to help you get through that. So you need to have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, somebody else is going to plan your life. You need to write it down, because if it's not written down, it's not clear. It is out there. It's just a dream or a wish. And then the third thing that you need to do, got to get rid of my notes, is that there are 3 points that your plan has to include. And these are the 3 things that are most often overlooked. Your plan needs to include a beginning, a middle, and an end. Here I am, here's where I want to be, and what do I need to do to get there? What we often do is we write down goals. Goals are not plans. Goals are an endpoint, and often they're written in a way that's not very effective, because it's not helping us sort of figure out how do we get there, or what does it look like when we get there. So your plan has to have those 3 points. Where are you now? If you are overwhelmed and you are working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, whatever it is that you shouldn't be working perhaps, and you are, you need to decide, where am I today? Your beginning point may be different than the person sitting next to you, and may be different than mine. You have to find the level of clarity around, where is your beginning point? Is your beginning point that you're not very good at setting boundaries, and that you're maybe a pushover and a people pleaser? That starting point is very different than the point where somebody's like, you know what? I'm just a disorganized person. I need to figure out some file folders on my computer. I need to get some highlighters in my agenda. I need to read a book on time management. I need to learn how to avoid the distractions, like I have a colleague who has, when we're talking, his email blinks up. I can hear it blinking constantly when we're having these conversations. That's a distraction you might need to get rid of. The notifications on your phone. The person who has that challenge with the distractions in their life, and that's what's causing them to not be able to focus and get tuned in, is very different than the person's starting point who is a wishy-washy person and says yes to everything. You have to be clear on where is your starting point. Then your plan, when you're creating this plan, you're looking at, you know, how do I move to this new place? What is that new place? And again, if you're starting at working 60, 70 hours a week, your ending place may be that I'm home for supper every night with my kids. That may be the important part for you. That may be the destination you're going. The other person's destination might be, I have a 0 inbox. That's my goal. 2 very different ending points, 2 very different beginning points, and 2 completely different plans in the middle. Your plan needs to have those 3 points included. Your plan is not a goal. Your plan is not a wish. Your plan is not a dream. Your plan is not something that's up here. Your plan is documented. Here's the beginning. Here's the middle. Here's the end. If you have any questions, ask me. I know some of you are on live today. Say hi to me. Put a thumbs up if this is resonating for you. Ask me questions about how to get that level of clarity if there's a specific point that you're looking for. And so here's the thing. You need to plan. You need to write your plan down. Your plan needs to have that level of clarity. Sometimes when women start creating their plan, they make some mistakes. And so today's guide sheet, because I have a guide sheet for each of these sessions, today's guide sheet is in the notes, and it is the 5 mistakes that women often make when they're trying to plan their life. Go grab that because you don't want to make those mistakes. It also gives you the flip side about then what is it that you need to do? If you're not going to make those mistakes, what do I need to do instead? So make sure you grab that note in the side, or click on that in the notes to get your guide. So I need to have a drink here. Give me a thumbs up if this is resonating for you. Okay, let me give you another example. Maybe, let me look at my notes here and see what my other example was. Oh, maybe you're unhappy with your job. Okay, so many women that I talk to are discontent. There's some of that, they can't quite put their finger on it, but they know they're not happy. They know that they're frustrated. They know they're struggling. And so again, you need to figure out where your beginning point is, where you're starting, and where you want to end up. If you're unhappy in your job, because again, your starting point may be different than mine. Your starting point might be that you're in a toxic work environment. There is crap loads of negativity. The gossip is unreal. You're constantly afraid you're going to be thrown under the bus. You're afraid that somebody's going to be backstabbing you left and right. You walk into the office and you could just feel the energy being sucked out of you. That's a toxic work environment. If you want out of there, your plan is going to be very different than the person who's unhappy in their job and their starting point is, I'm bored. You know what? I'm not challenged. I've been doing the same job for years and years and years. I could do it with my eyes closed. There's nothing here for me. I don't feel alive. I don't feel overly engaged. It's not that I don't know how to do my job. There's nothing wrong. The people I work with are nice. It's a good job. It pays good, but I'm bored. I'm like stagnant. Those 2 places, both of those women are unhappy with their job, but their starting places are very, very different. Where they're going to end up as well is very, very different. So if you are in a toxic work environment and you need to get out of there, you might start with your plan by taking some vitamin B. You might start with some exercise to lift your mood. You might look at other jobs to get out of there. You may look at being the one to instigate some of those changes, especially if you're the leader. You have the ability to influence your company's culture, whether you are the senior leader, the sandwich leader, or just a person who shows up in a leadership role in a meeting. Every one of us has the ability to impact our workplace culture. So if your workplace culture is toxic, maybe part of your plan is going to be, I'm going to disengage in the office gossip. I'm going to step back and I'm not going to get caught up in that negativity when it happens. When it happens, I'm going to plug my ears and say, no, I can't hear you. Or I'm going to go for a walk. I am going to not engage in that level of conflict. And so what you're going to have to do maybe is add some journaling to your day so you know when you get triggered, because gossip is so easy to get pulled into. It's like almost as exciting as the clicking on your cell phone or getting caught up in a Netflix binge. Gossip is just like, sugar. Give me more, give me more, give me more. We don't want to get involved, but as soon as it happens, we're like sucked in and we're whispering and we're sharing, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't want to get involved in that. And then you feel those regrets and you feel yucky and it feels awful. So if you're going to get out of that cycle, You might need to look at the triggers, the things that are impacting you, that are causing you to get sucked up in that. That, again, is a very different plan than the person who is bored and stagnant. Their plan might be, I need to look at, going back to school. I need to look at, is there a project that I could ask my boss to allow me to get involved in that's going to reignite some of that? When I was in a leadership position, I'd been doing parenting work for many, many, many years. And yeah, there was many times that I felt like I could just do it with my eyes closed. I had moved up into leadership positions, so I was supervising parent educators, but it still was the same old. I mean, I was talking about natural and logical consequences again and again and again, and child development stages, right? It was still all of that kind of stuff. And then there was a switch where there was some funding coming down for fetal alcohol syndrome work. And I got really heavily involved in that, and I started studying that and taking training about that, and I got involved in provincial organizations around that, started to do a little bit of, sorry, I've got a really bad throat today. Started to do some speaking around that, and that sort of ignited that fire in me where I was like, man, I want to come to work. I want to write this proposal and get some of this funding for our organization so that we can make a bigger difference with our clients. So I didn't have to quit my job. I didn't have to go back to school. I just created something new within my current role that sparked some of that enthusiasm again. So that's what your plan needs to include, is that level of clarity. Where's your beginning? Where's your ending, and what are the steps, both inner and outer? Remember, the outer step might be, I need to go online and look at where I can take some online training. The inner might be that belief that I don't have the time to do this, I'm not smart enough to do this, my husband's going to judge me if I go back to school, my boss is going to say that's not relevant, I'm going to feel inept because I haven't gone to school, I don't know how to write and do the whole what is it called, MPA? No, that's the wrong letters. I can't remember, because I got that was one of the things that drove me nuts when I was in college and university, was feeling like I didn't get all of those little tiny T's crossed and I's dotted. And I mean, I'm horrible at grammar and spelling. And so those things, is that inner turmoil that we have that keeps holding us back. So your plan has to include both that inner and outer stuff. Any questions, let me know. If this is something that's resonating for you, give me a thumbs up. You need to create a plan. I can sit here and harp on it all day, but the truth is, until you sit down, take responsibility for your life, nothing's going to change. You're going to continue to feel that inner turmoil. You're going to continue to be in survival mode, trying to sort of keep up with stuff until you decide that you're going to take responsibility, until you decide you're going to sit down and create that plan. So make sure you go to the links in the side notes, get those 5 mistakes that women often make when they're trying to change their life. Grab that now so that you don't make the mistakes. Any questions, let me know. Whether you're watching live or you're following along the replay, you can always, always, always throw in some questions for me and I'll come back to answer them. So just a reminder that the course Blueprint for Change is really aligned with what I'm talking about right now. Blueprint for Change takes you into that deeper, deeper, deeper dive to help you look at, where am I now, where am I going, and what do I need to do to get there? I was talking with one of my students the other day. I was talking with her a few weeks ago, and she was feeling a little bit frustrated with, I feel like I'm not getting the level of clarity from the course that I'm looking for. And I said, hold on, keep going, trust me. And what we often want is the quick fix. We want the quick answer. We want something to be, sorry, I have a little flip notice on my computer. We want something to be here right now. And the truth is, when we're going to make this level of change, we need to get into that deeper underlying stuff that's going on. And so then I was talking to this client again last week, and she's like, oh my God, I get it. I am so engaged now. I totally feel that I'm getting to the root of the challenge that I've had for so long. And so it's that level of clarity that we're looking for. Blueprint for Change keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper into Where am I? Where do I want to be? What do I need to do to get there, to actually get the clarity that you need in the plan? Because if you don't have that level of clarity, you're going to continue to hit a roadblock and you're going to stop and you're going to give up. You need to get knocked down. That happens. Dust yourself off, get back up and go, okay, what did my plan say I was going to do when I hit this roadblock? I mean, it's the same as when you're losing weight. I'm going to eat healthy. Great plan. But what are you going to do when you're traveling? There's a roadblock. Are you going to pack lunch every time? You have to plan ahead, right? What are you going to do when you've had one of those days and your sugar cravings are like up to here and somebody sets the cupcakes in front of you? How are you going to deal with that? That's that inner kind of stuff that you have to figure out. And you have to come back to noticing what's going on in your head, noticing what's going on in your body, but you have to plan that ahead of time. It does not just happen in the spur of the moment. So go make your plan. Take the time to write it down. Grab the link on the notes so that you don't make those 5 mistakes. And if you are interested in getting more help developing your plan with the specificity that's really going to help you get to the place you want, make sure you go to the My Blueprint for Change course. Go to silverrivercoaching.com. The link is in the side as well. And make sure you get put on the wait list. That program is opening up next month. And I want to see you enroll and get that level of clarity you need so that you can really take yourself from that place of surviving and just getting through your days, feeling that inner turmoil, not so happy, to actually engage in your days and enjoying your days and feeling like you are well used in a good way by the end of your day. I want you to feel competent and confident and capable. I want you to be engaged in your days. I want you to kind of fall into bed at the end of the night, not exhausted and frustrated, but grateful for everything that you've had. And that is possible. Trust me, it's possible. When you create your plan and you get really specific with your plan and you take action on your plan, that's what you need to do. Any questions, let me know. But make sure that you take the time, create that level of specificity in your plan. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what do you need to do to get there? Because that, my dear, is what's going to move you from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and life. Go make the rest of your day awesome.